The moment the basement door slammed behind us, a cold shiver ran down my spine. Darkness swallowed the room, broken only by the faint light from a single bulb swinging from the ceiling. My heart pounded so hard I thought Ethan and Clara would hear it, even if they were gone. "Henry!" "Stay calm," Margaret whispered, her hand brushing mine. Her voice was steady, but I could see the tension in her eyes. "Quiet. They don't know what is behind this wall." I froze, trying to understand what she meant, but there was no time to ask. The basement smelled of damp wood and old stone. Dust hung thick in the air, making it hard to breathe. Every corner seemed to hold shadows that could move. My mind raced. Why would our son and his wife lock us in here? What did they want? The first thing I noticed was the wall Margaret was staring at. It looked ordinary, made of rough bricks, but something about it felt off. One brick seemed newer, its edges cleaner than the others. I wanted to touch it to see if it moved, but Margaret shook her head slightly. "Not yet," she said. "We have to wait." I took a step toward her, my legs stiff and trembling. Margaret guided me to a corner, away from the door. "They think they're in control," she murmured. "But this basement isn't what it seems." I wanted to protest, to yell, to demand answers, but the fear in my chest made it impossible. Outside, I could still hear the faint sound of their footsteps fading down the hall. Ethan's laughter, soft, cruel, echoed in my ears. Clara's voice, cold and commanding, reminded me that they had power here. For now. Margaret knelt beside me and placed a hand on mine. Her eyes were serious, almost daring me to trust her. 39 years, Henry. 39 years I've waited for the right moment. This wall, it holds something important, something they could never understand. I swallowed hard. My mind raced with possibilities. Hidden money, letters, photographs, or something even stranger. I could see the flicker of determination on Margaret's face. She wasn't just my wife. She was a protector, someone who had been silently guarding a secret I had no idea existed. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from the basement door, making me jump. I held my breath. Margaret's grip tightened on my hand, grounding me. "Don't move. Don't make a sound," she said. Her calmness steadied me, but my heart refused to slow. I glanced around the basement again. Dusty shelves lined the walls, filled with boxes and forgotten objects. Old furniture leaned at strange angles. It felt like the room itself was watching us, waiting for something to happen. Margaret's gaze returned to that single brick. My stomach knotted. Whatever was behind that wall, whatever secret she had kept hidden all these years, I knew our lives were about to change forever. And yet, neither of us knew exactly how. After the echoes of their footsteps faded, I sank onto an old wooden crate, my mind spinning. Margaret stayed beside me, her hand lightly resting on my shoulder, grounding me. The basement was quiet now, but the silence was heavy, almost suffocating. Every creak of the old house above made me jump. "Henry," Margaret said softly, "we need to think. You and I. We've faced harder things before. We can handle this." Her calmness was a small anchor, but my fear refused to loosen its grip. I remembered the morning before, the way Ethan had smiled at us over breakfast. A smile that seemed warm, but now I realized it had been full of calculation. Clara, too, had been cheerful, asking questions about renovations, our health, trivial things. Everything had seemed ordinary until it wasn't. Margaret glanced at me, her eyes sharp. "Do you remember the old stories I used to tell you when the children were little?" she asked. "Stories about secrets and hidden places?" I nodded, trying to focus. I remembered her tales, hidden doors, treasures, and mysterious letters. But I had always thought they were just stories to entertain the kids. Now, sitting here in this dim basement, I realized they had been warnings. She took a deep breath. Our son and his wife. They're clever, but clever doesn't mean invincible. They think they know everything, but some things I've been keeping from them since long before they were born. I looked at her, puzzled. Margaret, what are you talking about? Her lips pressed into a thin line. She didn't answer directly. Instead, she walked slowly across the basement, running her fingers over the bricks and dusty shelves. This room has always been more than it seems, she said finally. Every corner holds a memory, a piece of the past. That wall, she paused, her hand hovering near the irregular brick. It holds something that could change everything. I swallowed hard, my curiosity battling with my fear. For years, I had trusted her completely, but now I sensed there was a part of her life, a part of our past that I had never seen. The thought both thrilled and terrified me. We sat together, silently listening to the house. Outside, I could faintly hear the distant murmur of cars and footsteps. Inside, only the basement breathed around us. Margaret finally spoke again, softer this time. Henry, it's important you remember. Sometimes the smallest things hide the biggest truths. I nodded, though I didn't fully understand. I knew, however, that whatever was behind that wall was tied to her, to our past, and perhaps to Ethan and Clara as well. My mind wandered to the irregular brick once more, and I felt a mixture of fear and excitement. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. I couldn't tell. Margaret remained calm, almost serene, as if she had faced far worse than this. I realized then that whatever secret she held, it had given her a strength that I'd never fully appreciated. And as I watched her study the basement, I knew one thing for certain. The truth behind that wall was waiting. And when it finally came out, our lives would never be the same. The basement seemed smaller now, the air heavier. I couldn't stop staring at that single brick Margaret had been watching. It was ordinary enough to hide in plain sight, yet something about it drew my attention, like it was waiting for me to notice. Margaret crouched near it, brushing off layers of dust with the tip of her finger. See this? She whispered. It's been here for decades, but no one has ever looked closely until now. I stepped closer, hesitant. Why now? Why after all these years? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she told me stories from long ago. Days I barely remembered. Days before Ethan was born, before Clara even existed. Tales of a time when life was different, simpler, and yet more dangerous than I realized. Margaret's voice held both warmth and edge of warning. Each word seemed carefully chosen, hinting at truths she had never shared with me. As she spoke, my fingers itched to touch the brick. Something about it felt alive. Not in a supernatural sense, but like it had been waiting for the right hands, the right moment. I noticed the wall around it, slightly uneven, almost as if it had been repaired poorly in a hurry. My mind raced. Could it be hiding a compartment? A letter? Something valuable? Margaret seemed to read my thoughts. She shook her head gently. Not yet, she said. First, you must understand. Some secrets aren't just objects. They're pieces of a story. Pieces of lives you think you know. I swallowed, unsure whether to feel frightened or curious. Her words hit me harder than the fear of being locked in the basement. If the secret wasn't just a thing, what was it? A truth? A memory? Or something darker? We moved quietly among the dusty shelves, examining old boxes and forgotten furniture. Margaret lifted a few, revealing faded photographs and letters from decades past. I peeked at one. Margaret's handwriting looping across the paper, words of hope and fear intertwined. My chest tightened. These were pieces of her life, fragments I'd never seen, and somehow they were connected to the wall. A sudden noise made me jump, a soft creak from above, like someone moving upstairs. Margaret's eyes darted toward the ceiling. "They're still around," she murmured, "but they have no idea. No idea at all." I realized then that Margaret had been planning this for a long time, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal her secret. I had assumed we were victims, trapped and helpless, but she was the one guiding us through the darkness, the one in control. Her hand brushed mine again, and I felt a surge of trust. Whatever lay behind the brick, it wasn't just hers, it was ours now, a piece of the past that had waited decades to emerge. I crouched beside her, hesitant but eager. I wanted to see, to touch, to uncover what she had kept hidden. Yet something in her eyes stopped me, a silent warning that the secret, when finally revealed, might change everything we thought we knew about our family. And as I gazed at the wall, I realized the truth. Some walls hold more than bricks. They hold the weight of years, of choices, and of secrets that refuse to stay buried forever. The basement felt colder now, though I wasn't sure if it was the chill in the air or the weight of what we were about to discover. Margaret's eyes never left the wall. The irregular brick seemed to pulse with significance, and my curiosity had turned into an ache I could no longer ignore. "Henry," Margaret said softly, "this brick, it's not just stone. It's a doorway, in a way, to something I've protected for 39 years. Something that could change everything." I stared at her, my mouth dry. "Protected? Margaret, what could possibly be behind it?" She shook her head, a small smile playing on her lips. "Patience," she whispered. "You'll see soon enough." Her hands moved with precision, brushing away dust and cobwebs from the brick's edges. The air around us seemed heavier with anticipation. I could feel the tension in my chest. Like a drumbeat that refused to slow, my mind raced with possibilities. Old letters, photographs, perhaps something more tangible. Something that explained secrets she had carried all these years. As she worked, Margaret told me more stories, carefully weaving memories from the past with present events. Tales of family decisions, of choices made in secrecy, and sacrifices that had gone unnoticed. I listened intently, realizing that the basement was more than a trap. It was a bridge to a past I had never fully understood. A faint creak echoed from the stairs above. My heart leapt into my throat. I glanced at Margaret. Her expression remained calm, almost serene. "They're close, but it doesn't matter," she said. "What's behind this wall is ours, not theirs, not yet." She pressed her palm against the brick, testing its edges. My hand itched to help, but I stayed back, letting her lead. Margaret had carried the secret for decades. I trusted her judgment implicitly. Slowly, the brick shifted. A small gap appeared, revealing a dark hollow behind it. My breath caught. Shadows danced within the tiny space, teasing what might be hidden. Margaret didn't reach in yet. She paused, looking at me with a mixture of reassurance and warning. "Henry, this is more than curiosity," she said. "What we find here, it will change the way we understand our family, our history, everything we thought we knew. Are you ready?" I nodded, though uncertainty twisted my stomach. I realized that whatever awaited us behind that brick was not just an object, it was a story, a secret that had survived decades of silence, carefully protected from everyone, even from our own children. Margaret took a deep breath, her fingers hovering over the opening. The air smelled of dust and time, like a hidden room that hadn't been touched for years. My pulse quickened. I had imagined countless possibilities, But nothing prepared me for the weight of knowing that a single brick held the key to a secret nearly 40 years old. Her eyes met mine one last time. I could see both excitement and caution there, a warning and a promise all at once. Then she finally moved the brick fully, revealing a shadowed space behind it. And as I peered in, my mind raced, heart pounding, wondering what truth had been waiting for us all these years. Margaret's hand trembled slightly as she pushed the brick fully aside. A dark hollow was revealed, small but deep enough to hide something important. I leaned forward, my breath caught in my throat. After all these years, the mystery was finally in front of us. Inside the hollow were bundles of old letters, tied carefully with faded ribbons. But that wasn't all. Beneath them lay a small carved wooden box, polished smooth by time, with strange symbols etched into the surface. Margaret's eyes glimmered with a mixture of fear, pride, and relief. "This," she whispered, "this is why I've kept it hidden. Why I've waited for the right moment. It's our past and our protection." I reached forward, but she put a hand over mine. "Not yet. You need to understand first." She began to carefully pull out the letters. They were written in her hand, dating back to decades before Ethan was born. The letters told a story I had never known, a story of betrayal, danger, and secrets kept from the family. Margaret had been protecting someone, a part of her life that she had sacrificed everything for. Then she lifted the small wooden box. I could feel my pulse in my ears. She opened it slowly, and inside lay a collection of documents, old photographs, and a key, small but heavy in her hand. One photograph caught my eye. Margaret, as a young woman, smiling faintly, standing beside a man I had never met. And on the documents were names. Names that explained everything. Hidden debts, threats, and choices that had shaped our family for years. "Henry," she said, her voice shaking, "this secret, it's why we've been kept safe. Why our children have always been guided, even when it seemed random. Ethan and Clara, they could never understand it, and they shouldn't." I felt a surge of emotions, shock, awe, and a strange relief. All these years, I had trusted Margaret, but now I understood just how much she had carried on her own. She had lived a life of courage, making sacrifices I hadn't even known existed. As we sat together in that dusty basement, I realized the weight of the secret was not in the objects themselves, but in the truth they held. A truth about love, protection, and the strength to keep a family safe. And for the first time, I truly saw Margaret not just as my wife, but as a woman who had been quietly extraordinary all along. We didn't speak for a long time. The silence was heavy, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that comes after a storm, the kind that allows your heart to finally catch up. Then Margaret looked at me and smiled softly. "Now we know," she said. "Now we can move forward, together." I nodded, feeling a mixture of awe and gratitude. The secret had been hidden for 39 years, but in revealing it, Margaret had not only protected us, she had given us a new understanding of ourselves, our family, and our past. And in that moment, in that quiet basement, I realized something I would never forget. Some walls don't just hide secrets. They protect them until the moment they're meant to change everything. As we stepped back from the wall, the weight of 39 years lifted, leaving only awe and quiet relief. Margaret's secret had changed everything: our past, our understanding of each other, and the way we would face the future. Ethan and Clara may have tried to control us, but the truth had its own timing, and it had chosen us. I looked at Margaret, gratitude and wonder filling me. and realize that some walls aren't meant to hide. You just need the courage to uncover them. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more shocking stories and mysteries.